and exclusive crime show, broadcasting from the United States. My name is Sandra Belarra, and I'm the host of the show. Today, November 18, 2021, we will proceed to hear a news story that has caught the attention of many people in recent days. We have the amazing visit of Emma, our super reporter from New York's news, Irene, who is going to explain everything that happened and how she experienced the situation from the victim's points of view. And finally, we have Paula, a top-ranking police officer who is going to solve many of the questions we have about drugs and how they affect our immune system, as well as saying how they affect young people today and what incites them to perform these acts.
Hello, I'm the famous journalist Emma Silva from New York Times. I'm here today to try to understand what happened on the early morning of last Wednesday, October 20. Now I'm going to ask both of you a series of questions related to this tragedy. We can start first with you, Irene. Welcome to Exclusive Crimes.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
What were you doing that Wednesday at 5:30 a.m. before being surprised by these young people?
I had just opened the store, so I was checking that I had all the supplies and writing it in a notebook.
How did this tragedy really begin, since these young people entered your gas station?
I first saw a group of people. They were the first one to come that morning. I didn't pay much attention to them until I realized that they entered with a lot of energy. At that moment, I got a bit scared. But when I really panicked was at the moment that I saw one of the youth with a knife in his hands. The robbers started stealing all the food they wanted from the store.
When you saw that those violent teenagers started robbing your store, how did you act?
I was shocked because I didn't know how to react. I've never been in that situation. If in another situation a group of boys had started robbing me without weapons, I would have just taken them out. I'm brave. But how would you react if a group of armed teenagers appeared on your property?
And when the boy with the knife started to approach you and talk to you, was there anything you could do to avoid being stabbed? I don't know. You say that you were alone, but it can be that there was somebody near to you or you could call the police.
I couldn't do anything. The gas station is situated far away from other shops. Anyway, it was 5:30 in the morning. Nobody is awake at that time. The only way to request for help was calling the police, but it was also impossible because the aggressor was just in front of me, so he would have attacked me.
I'm sure this was one of the worst moments of your life. How did you feel at that moment and how are you nowadays?
As I said, I felt very scared. I still haven't opened the store again because so many memories come to my mind when I stay here.
Thanks you for answering all my questions. I suppose it won't be easy for you to remember this tragedy.
Now that we have finished with a round of questions from the victim who suffered the most damage from this crime, let's continue the program with the policeman who went to the gas station first and who has carried out all this investigation. Emma, you can continue.
Thank you, Sandra, and welcome to you, Paula.
Thank you.
You say that you were the first police officer who went to the gas station that night, and you are also in charge of the investigation. Is true?
Exactly. That night, when Irene called the police along with my partner and we are the first to arrive at the place. On the other hand, yes, they have made me responsible of the case.
What was the first thing you thought when you arrived at the gas station and saw what happened?
The first thing I thought when I got to the place was that maybe the gas station clock had been hard. Everything was trashed, the products were through the floor, and everything was messy. Irene was standing outside, almost unable to breathe, and do the bad things that she had been through. Between my partner and I, we tried to calm her down so that they would explain to us and what happened.
What were the results of the teenagers' drug test?
When we arrested the adolescents, some drug and alcohol tests were carried out and followed the test. Positive for alcohol and drug use. They were all drunk or drugged, that is why they had more violent attitude, especially some of them because of the type of drug they had consumed. The vast majority of the young people who commit the crime had consumed 17, a drug with very strong effects.
And what are the consequences of that drug?
17 is a very addictive drug and has inside effects such as hallucination, violence, and aggressions, which later has a rebound effect, thus reaching has a state genocide. This drug also produces a state of total uncontrollability in the user's body. So they can act impulsively without knowing the consequence of the actions that they are committing. Before reaching this state of nervousness and aggression, they begin to have a state of happiness and tranquility.
And how was the case finally resolved?
Finally, all the people who commit the crime were arrested, and also they have to go to fulfill some different activities and public tasks.
Thank you very much, Paula, for showing us and sharing all your knowledge based on the topic discussed. And especially thank you for coming to my program to raise awareness among young people of the danger of drugs and how difficult it is to control themselves when taking them.
And the last important question for you. How do you think drugs influence adolescents to commit these crimes? And how can we avoid it?
From my point of view, drugs have a lot of unconscious influence on the society in which they live, because people are very influenced and have a lot of intrigue about how it will affect them in the body. That's what makes them want to try them. In order to avoid such cases, it is recommended that they give more information both at home and the school. At this way, people can know and see what are the effects that these drugs produce and what they carry over time, physically and physiologically, or in your own bodies.
I think drugs influence crime because it distorts a sense of reason. So the consumer is not able to differentiate the good from the bad behavior. Something that we can do with the purpose of ending these situations is to enforce the punishment of the illegal consumption of drugs, and also improve the education about consumption of drugs, for example, with talks at the school.
I think that mainly there was to be a control when these types of drugs are sold. There has to be more security and controls to detect when and where people sell these drugs, since the sale and consumption of this drug is illegal. On the other hand, I believe that adolescents are influenced to consume these drugs, which in many cases causes to them to commit crimes. This happens because they see that other friends or colleagues do it, so that's one, I think.
Thank you for answering my questions and for giving your point of view. Thank you for inviting me to this program.
To be honest, unfortunately, in our society, more and more crimes are being committed because of the influence of drugs on young people, because they have them available at any time of the day. We conduct studies and scientists are looking for ways to avoid or try to reduce this type of case. Young people who listen to me, don't ruin your life by contemplating 2 seconds of the symptoms of any drug. You will end up regretting your life. And after closing the program, I want to thank our dear guests for giving us their words. It was a spectacular session. Let's hear it for them.